Welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart, a podcast with real stories, real struggles, and real hope. I'm MommaFoxFire, and today we're talking about something that affects millions of people but still doesn't get talked about enough in honest ways. We are getting into ADHD, depression, anxiety, and Tourette Syndrome. Not the sanitized version you see in commercials or the dramatic version you see on TV, the real version. The one where you can't get out of bed even though there's nothing physically stopping you. The one where your brain won't shut up long enough to let you focus on literally anything. And the one where your body does things you can't control and people stare. Before we get into the interview, I want to mention that this conversation was recorded back in 2020. A lot has happened since then, but the struggles my guest talks about are still incredibly relevant. Mental health does not have an expiration date, and neither does the need to talk about it openly. So let's start with some basics. ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, affects about 4% of adults globally. But it's more than being hyper or easily distracted. It's about your brain being wired differently. It's about executive dysfunction, where you know exactly what you need to do, but you physically cannot make yourself do it. Or time blindness, where 5 minutes and 5 hours feel exactly the same. It's about rejection sensitivity that makes criticism feel like a personal attack on your entire existence. And when you throw depression into that mix, you're not just dealing with low motivation from ADHD, you're dealing with actual chemical changes in your brain that make feeling anything positive nearly impossible. Depression is not sadness. Sadness is an emotion. Depression is the absence of emotion. It's looking at things you used to love and feeling absolutely nothing. It's showering, becoming an achievement worth celebrating because some days even that feels insurmountable. Anxiety takes that already complicated situation and cranks it up. Your body is constantly in fight or flight mode. Your heart races, your chest tightens, you can't breathe right, and sometimes there's no reason for it. You're just sitting there, and your body decides that right now, in this completely safe moment, is the perfect time to convince you that everything is wrong and you're about to die. Now, pop in Tourette Syndrome to all of that. Tourette's is a neurological condition that causes tics. These are involuntary movements or sounds that you cannot control. And it's not just swearing, even though that's what most people think of when they hear Tourette's. Most people with Tourette's don't have that particular tic. What they do have is an overwhelming urge that builds and builds until they have to do something to release it. My guest today describes it as an itch that you absolutely have to scratch. And when you're already dealing with ADHD, depression, and anxiety, having your body do things you can't control just adds another layer of difficulty to an already exhausting existence. Here's what makes this combination particularly brutal. These conditions feed into each other. ADHD makes it harder to build routines that help with depression. Depression makes the ADHD worse because you don't have the energy to manage your symptoms. Anxiety spikes when you can't focus or when you're having tics in public. The stress from anxiety makes the tics worse. It's a cycle that is incredibly hard to break. And society doesn't make it easier. We still treat mental health conditions and neurological differences like character flaws. If you just tried harder or wanted it more or had better discipline, you'd be fine. We tell people with ADHD to just focus. We tell people with depression to just be happy. We tell people with anxiety to just calm down. We tell people with tics to just not do that, as if any of that is remotely helpful or even possible. The truth is that living with these conditions requires more strength than most people will ever understand. Getting through a regular day when your brain is working against you is exhausting. Trying to appear normal when you feel anything but normal is exhausting. Dealing with medication side effects or trying to find the right medication or deciding whether to even take medication at all is exhausting. This conversation matters because when we talk about these experiences honestly, when we stop pretending everything is fine and start admitting that sometimes everything is really hard, we give other people permission to do the same. We create space for real conversations instead of surface-level ones. We help people feel less alone. My guest today, Sebbzzy, lives in Norway and was dealing with all 4 of these conditions when we recorded this interview. He had been struggling with depression for 5 years at that point and had anxiety for as long as he could remember. He was diagnosed with ADHD and Tourette Syndrome when he was 6 years old. And and he just recently decided to get professional help. I appreciated his honesty. He really does not sugarcoat anything. He talks about the fatigue, the insomnia, the inability to feel genuine happiness, the constant negative thought patterns. He talks about how hard it is to start anything when depression has you in its grip. He talks about learning to camouflage his tics because of negative attention from his stepfather. He talks about feeling like damaged goods because he was diagnosed so young and put on medications that made him feel something was wrong with him. But he also talks about the small steps that helped. Getting a haircut, taking a shower, doing one productive thing even when everything in him wanted to stay in bed. He talks about using a rubber band on his wrist to snap himself out of negative thought spirals. He talks about finding hobbies that give him some sense of accomplishment and progress. This is not a story about overcoming everything and being cured. That's not how these conditions work. This is a story about surviving them, about finding ways to keep going even when your brain is actively working against you. So if you're listening to this and you're dealing with any of these conditions, I want you to know that what you're experiencing is real. You're not making it up, and you're not being dramatic. You're not weak. You're fighting a battle that most people can't see, and that takes more courage than anyone gives you credit for. All right, let's get into this conversation. Here is my interview with Sebbzzy about living with ADHD, depression, anxiety, and Tourette syndrome. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mental Health Monday Courageous Conversations. Tonight, our guest is Sebbzzy. Is that how you say your name there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sebbzzy has been struggling with depression for 5 years, had some degree of anxiety for as long as he can remember. It got worse about 5 years ago, and he decided just recently to get professional help, which is awesome. He actually lives in Norway, so this is really late for him tonight. And oh, you know what? Okay, I'll check that in just a second. He makes music, metal and metalcore, which I think is really cool, and is currently taking a break from studying, but is planning to become a physicist, which is more intimidating to me probably than to some, hopefully. But so you also have ADHD and Tourette Syndrome and have struggled with low self-confidence and self-loathing because of your childhood as well. So super happy to have you on here to talk about, a little from column A, a little from column B here. I think I'm going to adjust my video because it's going to bug me if I don't. But I really appreciate you being on here with me today and just taking the time out of your day. So thanks and welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Feel free to type in !Q, enter your question after that, and it will put it into the queue, and I'll make sure to get to it. Otherwise, we'll fit in any questions that are in chat kind of as we go along, keep it a little bit natural. Absolutely going to have that here. So welcome. Thank you. Again, thank you for being here and taking the time to chill with us today.
No problem. Will probably be fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be fun. That's what we're hoping for. So especially right now, a lot of people are trying to find things to do in and around our own homes because I don't know about in Norway, but in the US, like we're still shit show coronavirus 24/7. So what are some of your favorite at-home hobbies?
For me, as I said, I write music and play guitar and are kind of a musician. So I like, of course, to play music and do that at home. But I also know that it's important to get some physical activity. So I usually pick up some weights and stuff and just try to work out at home. It's not totally closed down in Norway anymore because we got it kind of under control, but like the gyms and so are open, but I know it's kind of a danger zone still. And since I'm working up from kind of a rock bottom hit after a new thing that happened with the depression, kind of like to work out at home instead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have something that gets you, right before this, we were talking about kind of those hits of dopamine and everything. And it's nice to have something at home that you can do that hits those for you, whether it's gaming, especially if it's working out, because that has more benefits than just gaming. But yeah, like that's a really nice thing to be able to kind of fall back on. And I know that that's something that a lot of people here are having to deal with as well, because the gyms. So I think the gyms are actually open now at this point. I don't know. I canceled my membership months ago because I was like, I'm not paying for this. I'm not paying for
it's the
something I
same
can't
thing.
use. But yeah, it's one of those things that if you can find a way to do that at home, I have resistance bands here, and I have weights in the garage, and of course it's also 106 degrees here, so don't work out in the garage. But it's nice to have those kinds of things that you can do and fall back on.
Yeah, because actually, as long as you got like dumbbells or something like that, you can basically do about any type of exercise. It would not be as effective as with a barbell and with a lot of weight on, but you could go for many repetitions.
Yeah.
You would still get benefits from it.
Yeah, you can absolutely kind of lean out that muscle a little bit instead of bulk up. And then once you hit the gym, you'll be ready to bulk up even more.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an off the wall question, but I started asking people this because it just kind of, a lot of people have strong opinions. And then again, some people have no opinions. But do you have a favorite serial killer or true crime story that fascinates you?
Yeah, I'm usually not that into serial killers, but Theodore Kaczynski, I think that's the way to pronounce it, the Unabomber. I always found him a bit fascinating because he was a really smart guy from what I could tell. Like, he was really academically smart. He knew a lot about chemistry, he built his own bombs. But the thing about him that I found interesting was like, he was a smart guy. He had like probably all the possibilities in life, but because of something negative that happened to him, it changed his whole worldview. And it resulted in him doing a lot of bad stuff to try to, I don't know, try to correct the world. I don't know what his mission was, but he made total hell when he could have had a good life. But because of something that happened, it turned out totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it does take a certain amount of intelligence to be a successful, I'll say successful, serial killer or something to that effect, because otherwise you're just going to get caught, right? But it's fascinating how many times their intelligence, like it could have gone a completely different direction, and you can kind of point to specific instances in their lives where sometimes it's like, this is what happened that kind of directed that person to this path instead, when they could have, been working for some government organization bombing other countries.
They could.
I was going to say like NASA or something, but
yet, but
yeah, right. Made it in time for the serial. You did just in time. Absolutely. So you mentioned to me that for a long time you refused to get help. So what made you change your mind and decide to see a therapist?
yeah, well, I've always been that kind of guy that always wanted to fix my own problems because I'm kind of an overthinker, so I always can figure out, almost always figure out the things I'm supposed to do, try to get better, improving something. But what always stops me is like, I just can't keep up with it, doing it like for a long time to be consistent about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what made me decide to get help was when all the things that happened 5 years ago, I thought I was getting better for a while. I thought like, okay, this is the new normal. But then it gradually got worse. I was like at a point where I could do things. I went to school for years and worked a lot, but gradually I just declined, and hit rock bottom again. And also my mother was kind of encouraging me to get help too. But I was like, okay, if I'm actually going to get rid of this thing, or at least keep it at a level and not get worse, it would definitely help to get some professional help, and also to have it on paper, because you have different rights when you're diagnosed with mental illness. If you then get in trouble later, it will be much easier for you to get back and get some help.
Yeah.
From that too.
Right. It's always fascinating to me being from the US, where there's still like I say everyone knows. I think everyone knows our healthcare system sucks. Like politics sucks. Like a lot of stuff about the US sucks. But healthcare is one of those things that there's really not that much support for people with mental illnesses. So it's interesting to hear people from other countries say, like, you have different rights. If you're diagnosed, you have different rights that you can then fall back on as a positive thing. Because here it's like you are blocked from doing certain things. Child, go talk to your sister. I love you. Good night. What's more important, friends or family? Family, but also sleep. And you should be asleep.
Mother's always not right, But yeah, I totally agree with you. It was like, because I live in Norway and we have a pretty good healthcare system, I would be pretty dumb to not take advantage of it, because they have like, if they consider you to be in enough serious degree of either depression or anxiety, you can get totally free treatment for it.
Wow.
Yeah, you can get totally free, and I actually got that too. Like,
Yeah.
I got an answer from my doctor's recommendation that they accepted me, and I would get in, start treatment in at least within the next month. So
Wow.
I thought that was pretty good, because I feel it would be pretty ungrateful. People in other countries have to pay for it themselves, and I imagine it's not cheap. So to not take advantage of it and try to make my life better would be it would be a stupid thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not cheap here for sure. I mean, if you have health insurance, it does cut down the cost, but also health insurance is a big scam. So there's that.
Yeah.
But like every time I go see my therapist, it costs me $60. And so if I go see a therapist once a week, I mean, that adds up. It adds up pretty quickly, and you pay more for your first visit, and then you pay more for an assessment every year. And like, that's on top of other medical things. That's just for mental health. And it changes depending on what insurance you have, and just shit show.
But yeah, that's pretty expensive, and you can't get it covered, or you can get it from your insurance. But damn, yeah, that would be expensive.
Right. Well, and then on top of that, like if I worked for a certain company, my company that I work for now is actually really great and has I'm one of the positive mental health champions with my company. And they really turned the corner on making mental health okay to talk about. But if some companies, like if they find out you're going to a therapist, you'll lose your job, and they can't say that's why you're losing your job, but that's why you're losing your job. And that to me is just really sad.
Yeah, because it's all about money, capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. Very much.
I don't envy you.
Yeah, if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't live in this country. And if I didn't have custody agreements with my kids, they would not live in this country either. So
where would you have lived if you could choose?
I don't know. I don't know because
not US.
Right, just like not here, legit anywhere but here. And I say that because I've never really looked into it. Like, I had my youngest when I was 21, and so I never had like a chance to pick. It was just like, all right, well, you're stuck here. Not only are you stuck in the US, but you're stuck in Texas. Not only you're stuck in Texas, you're stuck in this county. So it's like, I just never had a choice to move anywhere. Somewhere cooler would be nice. But you're not wrong. You are not wrong on that. But yeah, because I've never had the opportunity to decide where to live necessarily, besides what house to live in, I've never really looked into it. But somewhere slightly cooler, maybe a little more chilly would be nice. It gets really hot here, and just somewhere with easier politics, better healthcare, better schools, better.
Yeah, I can imagine. The only thing I don't like about Norway is definitely the temperature.
Is it? What's
like
the
in the
temperature
winter? Like now in the summer, it's okay temperatures. It's like maybe, I think maybe now it's 15 degrees Celsius at night.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad, but like in the winter, it can get pretty fucking cold. I tell you. Oh, and a lot of snow. Like having to shovel snow every day, both off your car and just to get to your car.
Mm-hmm.
It gets annoying really easy, and you can imagine the small roads and so on. So there's a lot of traffic accidents.
Yeah.
Feeling your car slipping on ice. It's like,
oh, I hate that feeling. It doesn't happen here often, but so, I mean, I guess we get ice like once a year, right? It freezes at least 3 or 4 days a year here, but we don't get snow, we get sleet. And so everything is always icy whenever it's frozen. But yeah, we have the opposite problem. It's 108 in Celsius is like, all right, so
we're taking Fahrenheit.
It's like 42 Celsius, I mean?
That's pretty hot.
Yeah. Let me see. 108 F2C. 42.2. Oh, I did my math right.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so 42 is pretty regular. I mean, we get at least a week where it's that high for consistently a week, usually about a month, and then it doesn't drop off very quickly. So anyway, it's the opposite.
Yeah, I always wanted to move to a warmer place, but I think that would be too hot.
Yes, it is hot. It is very hot. It's true. Bite said the solution to snow shoveling is to never go anywhere. I like it. I like it. So growing up, you had ADHD and Tourette syndrome. What is the biggest challenge you faced or that you kind of saw yourself facing before you were diagnosed? And then did your perception of that challenge change after you arrived at each of those diagnoses?
The thing was, I was diagnosed when I was 6 years old. So I know how I was prior to that and after. Prior to that, I didn't feel like anything was wrong with me. It was, of course, I had a lot of energy. I could not sit still. I was a pretty violent kid in kindergarten, and it didn't help that my dad always like, okay, let's play Tekken. Should play that. That was my favorite game when I was a kid. So yeah, to say the least, it affected me. But yeah, I didn't have a perception of something being wrong with me prior to that. But when I was 6 years old, my mother got together with my former stepdad, and he immediately got an opinion that something was wrong with me. We have to diagnose that kid because yeah, I had a lot of energy and was not focused. So they diagnosed me, and it turned out I had ADHD and Tourette syndrome. And after that, they started to medicate me. And I don't know if I would have been better off not being diagnosed, because after that, I had like the impression that something was wrong with me. It's like, okay, there's something wrong with me. I have to take medications. And I don't remember too much about how it affected me, but my mother told me that I've told her that it changed me. It changed the way I said I didn't feel like myself.
Mm.
And that I got kind of depression-like symptoms from some of the medication, because I tried a lot of them, some for Tourette syndrome, some for ADHD. But when I think I was maybe 14 years old, I said I don't want to take any more medications. I just want to live. And I did that up until probably right after the first depression incident I had. Then I decided to like, okay, I have to take medication and start school again. But yeah, the only thing like after I got the diagnosis was the negative impression that something was wrong with me. And
did your parents ever talk to you about that? Even though you're taking medication, that doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, or was that just not ever talked about?
Not too much. Like they explained like why I had to take them, that it will help me sit still at school so I can concentrate and actually do my homework and stuff. But my stepdad, it was, to put it mildly, it was a dick. It was verbally abusive. Every time I had like tics or something, because I don't have like a serious degree of Tourette syndrome, but I have the tics. But he was always like correcting me when I did something like making grunting noises or anything. He corrected me every time. That like got me to feel even more like there was something wrong with me, because it was constantly negative attention my way all the time. But it ended up with my tics getting camouflaged, as a expert concluded with when I was maybe 10 years old. Someone was observing me in the classroom and noticed that I copied people. Like if they coughed, I would cough a little bit later. That was how I got my tics out.
Oh, wow.
Camouflaging it like in regular stuff. And like you can see I just gesticulate with my hands. It's sort of also ways to get my tics out without it being unusual or something that draws attention.
Yeah. So we haven't talked a lot about Tourette syndrome here. Can you kind of describe it for people who may not understand what that is? I mean, I know it's portrayed in the media a lot of different ways, but can you describe it, kind of what your experience has been with Tourette syndrome?
Yeah, from my perspective, you can feel it. It's like an itch in your whole body. You just need to get it out with doing something, saying something. The best way to describe it is like an itch. You just have to do something to get it out. But of course, it's to varying degrees. And I actually, even though I have Tourette syndrome, I haven't read too much up about it. I was like, okay, I have it. I don't know how it's to live without it, but it is something with the nerves, and seeing as it feels like an itch that I have to get out with a movement or a sound, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else to say about it. You can also be accompanied by like compulsive thinking, and for me, I had that when I was younger. I had to do things like if I was going to throw a ball, I had to do it 3 times or 9 times because 3 times 3 is 9.
Yeah.
But if I missed all the times, I could try a 10th time because that's the closest to 9. It was like, yeah, those weird kind of thought patterns. But I had them a lot when I was smaller. I was younger. But luckily that got away because it could be like to a real annoying degree. Like see something and I have to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah, it's definitely sounds like it would make things a little awkward sometimes.
Yeah, it could have. Like I imagine my parents walking with me at the store before I was kind of learned to camouflage it. I imagine it could be weird, me going around making grunting noises, but you don't. People don't notice it too much when you're a kid, though, because it's pretty normal for kids to do stuff like that. So, in one way, I'm thankful that I learned subconsciously to camouflage it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my kid has growled at me a couple times today. So, like, I don't know. Like, there's just some behaviors. There's some behaviors that when it's in a kid, you're absolutely right. You don't necessarily notice it, and especially as young as you said, 6 was kind of whenever you got these diagnoses. So, I look at my 6-year-old, the 2 you just saw. Like, he's very active. He's very hyperactive. Like, can't focus, but also, I mean, a lot of 6-year-olds are that way. So I don't see it necessarily as a big problem, although maybe it is, and maybe I'm just, a little blind to it. But yeah, I could see people not really batting an eye at kind of those behaviors in public, especially when you're that young, for sure.
Yeah, but like I think when you're a kid and you are like that, I think yeah, it's normal. But if you ever decide when your kid gets older to like maybe do something about it, going to a doctor isn't necessarily the right option always, because when you get that impression of yourself that something is wrong, it kind of ruins your self-confidence and your own picture of you. You feel like damaged goods.
Mm-hmm.
But if help is necessary, on the other hand, that's when you might like talk to the school and try to make adjustments to make it fit better.
Right.
Medications, it hurts more than it helps for ADHD, especially at the young age, in my opinion, of course. But
right. Yeah,
I'm not a medical professional, so
there's nothing wrong with medicating if it's necessary. The question is like, it's not necessary. Not everyone who has ADHD needs medication. Not everyone who has depression needs medication. Like, there's all sorts of. I've talked about my experience with depression. I had postpartum depression with my youngest, and in that instance, medication fixed it within 2 weeks. I have non-related chronic depression now, major depressive disorder, and medication won't touch it. So, like, it just depends. It kind of depends on literally what your brain is doing and
yeah,
kind of the cause of it.
Yeah, kind of the cause. But like what I've read about depression and so on, it's basically your brain chemistry is changed. So to have something from the outside try to change that would only be temporary, unless I've heard some medications actually change it permanently. But I don't know. I'm always skeptic about taking medications to change something inside my body because you never know what the side effect could be.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. When I did have postpartum depression and I went to my OB about it, she was like, yeah, that's what you have. Because I had no idea. I had no idea that's what I was dealing with. But I started explaining to her what I was feeling. And she's like, oh, you have postpartum depression. Like, we need to get you on medication really quickly. And there was never any like threat to my baby or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. But she's like, we need to get you on medication pretty quickly. And so I questioned her at that time. I was like, you sure take medication? Because I was breastfeeding also. And so like that kind of interaction, we had to be real careful with what I took. And she's like, no, do this. And then in a couple weeks, come back and see me and we'll talk about it and see how you're feeling then. But now, I pushed back on my therapist on what I should be taking. And she was like, yeah, I don't know that this is really going to help you, but we'll, if we need to, we can cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, just kind of working on my own thinking from the inside is what's helped me the most. Like It hasn't cured anything, but it's helped.
As long as it helps.
Yeah. So everybody experiences illnesses. Speaking of, like I just compared two different kinds of depression that I've experienced and how they're completely different, but everybody experiences those things really uniquely. And that's with, a mental illness. That's with an external physical illness. It's with anything. It's completely different and unique to each person. So can you describe what symptoms of ADHD and depression and anxiety and Tourette's that you encounter today?
Today, for the ADHD and Tourette Syndrome, that's kind of hard to, because I've always been living with it. So I don't know how it's like to live without it. But the things I know are because of the Tourette's and ADHD are my inability to focus sometimes. After I started getting my anxiety from an early age, I didn't have that mad energy levels from ADHD anymore. I sometimes wish I did. I don't. But yeah, things I've noticed today, I had some weird anxiety symptoms where I had slept very little. The day before, I think I slept for 1 hour, and then I woke up all of a sudden. Had to just watch some YouTube videos until I fell asleep again. Slept maybe a few hours more, and then woke up, and I was like, okay, there started. But later on, I felt weird aches all over my body, and I felt like I had trouble breathing.
Mm.
And I was thinking, oh shit, do I have the corona now? Because the problem breathing was one of those things I read that was a symptom of it.
Yep.
So then I started looking online, and I took my temperature. Everything was normal there. So I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I just Googled trouble breathing and so on, and then said anxiety under, and I was like, of course.
Right.
That makes sense. And then I had a nap later, about 1 hour. Then I woke up and was like, okay, I don't feel that anymore. So it was basically in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And for depression, the fatigue, that's probably the thing that I hate most. That and having a hard time sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that I hate the most, because I love being active. I love doing things. I love playing the guitar and working out and basically doing things to improve myself. And when I can't do those things because I feel like there's nothing in me no energy, nothing to burn, even though physically there's nothing inhibiting me from doing it. It's like you have the Chinese wall between you and that thing you're supposed to do, and you can't do it even though you want to do it. It's very weird. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Even though I take my ADHD medication, because I know that it gives me more dopamine in my brain, so it's easier for me to get motivated and do stuff. But even with this, it doesn't help. After I got that bum at the depression, this doesn't even help. And I find that both weird and annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. That about sums up depression for me as well. Weird and annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, the insomnia and then accompanied by the fatigue, you would think that those would cancel each other out. Eventually you're going to be so fatigued that of course you're going to sleep, but it doesn't. And that kills me. You're still just so tired, and you're like, please just let me sleep for a long time. And then you can't. And it's just awful.
Yeah, it is. I try to compensate with things like energy drinks and so on, but
only does so much.
Yeah, I don't feel it helps either, but I know that it inhibits my sleep, because caffeine keeps me more awake, and I'm actually pretty caffeine sensitive. So it doesn't give me more energy. It just prevents me from sleeping. So trying to drink it to get through the day, and then when I could have fallen asleep if it wasn't for the caffeine, then all of a sudden, no, can't sleep then.
Right.
My heart is pounding. So it's like a negative cycle of trying to make something help you, but it does the opposite. And of course, sugar and that stuff, when you don't get good foods in, that's also negative. So yeah. But also about the depression, of course, negative thought patterns, that I absolutely hate. But found a way to kind of help me snap out of it, to use either a rubber band or a hairband around my wrist, and every time I think something negative or worry about something, just give myself a slap. And it helps me, yeah, it helps me be more aware that I'm thinking about something negative and try to shift my focus away at something else. And also I read that you kind of feel a little bit of pain when you do it, so it releases some endorphins and should then, in theory, help you think about something better.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do
yeah,
you ever
I felt
do you,
that.
so do you ever try to, like, you think about something negative and then do you try to reframe that specific thought into something positive, or do you try to distract yourself from that thought?
I usually just try to think about something else, because if I try to reframe that thought, I would just get into details and just fall right back. Of course, it would
Right.
depend on this, but mostly for my negative thinking, it would just keep me in that dark pattern.
Mhm.
But and also one thing that bugs me a lot about the depression is like the inability to feel real happiness, or to really feel happy and feel like when you laugh, I feel like when I do it now, it's kind of more of a reflex, because, okay, that's
It's not
something that could
genuine.
have been
Yeah.
funny. No, it's not genuine. It's like have to fake it to try to be normal and don't act too much out. Not be that quiet guy that always sits like this. Like, it feels weird everything seems so lucid and fake, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like you're yourself. And I always end up like trying to compensate and see, okay, where is it normal for me to smile and so on. And I kind of end up smiling too much, and that looks weird. So yeah, to not have like that connection with your positive emotions are definitely a big negative.
Yeah.
It is. But very few people noticed that I actually was struggling. So recently when I started to tell some of my friends, it was like, whoa, did you struggle with that? What? Just pretty good at hiding it.
Yeah. Yep. High functioning. It's a thing. That's whenever I talk about, especially at work, whenever I talk about having depression and anxiety, like everyone's like, no, that's not right. Like you don't, that's not you. Like, I'm like, really? Oh, really?
Both a blessing and a curse to be
Yeah.
highly functional.
Right. It really is, because then you can tell people, like, especially if you've opened up to someone and said, listen, I'm really struggling with my mental health. And they're like, okay, well, you don't seem like you are. Like, what do you want me to seem like? You want me to be crying at my desk all day? Because that's what I feel like doing, but I'm not going to do it because I have kids to support. Like, I have to pay the mortgage and I got shit to do. I got to stay functioning. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for those that are not able to function normally, because I know some people that struggle with depression, and for most of the time they're not able to function normally. And I feel bad for them though, because they're missing out on a lot of things in life. And also, I think a lot of people with depression don't want that sympathy from people. When we talk to someone, at least from my experience, when I tell someone, it's not to get sympathy or anything, but it's to kind of explain why I want to be understood. I want people to understand why I may react in a different way, and why I might be ditching them because I really don't feel like going out or something like that. Just to have all the cards on the table.
Right. The bites that I had a night last week where even when I did sleep, I was just dreaming about how tired I was. Oh God.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, that's awful. That really is awful. So how do the symptoms of your different diagnoses, do they trigger into each other? Like, does your depression ever trigger into your anxiety, or vice versa, or your ADHD or Tourette syndrome? And are there any other clear triggers for you for any of that?
I would guess that like when I get very anxious in situations where I have somewhat of a mini anxiety attack, I would guess that would trigger my Tourette syndrome. That's at least what I've heard from other people with Tourette syndrome, that when they get stressed, like the frequency of tics, that it like just shoots up. They get even less control. For me, since it's camouflaged, I don't notice it too much, but I get kind of restless and need to do something. So I would guess that triggers it. And for the anxiety and depression, yeah, those are basically like a game of table tennis. Smack the ball to one side, cause depression, that causes anxiety, and back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's It's a loop, a negative loop.
Not like a fun roller coaster loop, like an awful, can't get off of this roller coaster loop that just goes around and there's no relief to it.
Yeah, it's basically like that. I hate that. But when I'm functioning, I had like, as I said earlier, 5 years ago when I had that bad depression when it first started, I got it up and functioned a lot better for a while. I felt something was off, but at that time it was kind of the same thing also. It went back and forth, but I think I was better at breaking the cycle, kind of. But my ADHD and my lack of motivation and so on, I would also say that triggers some of my depressions, because when I stopped thinking about happiness, I always, after that time, started thinking about being as productive as possible and try to use my time as best as possible. Because I always had like the attitude that you can do anything as long as you put your time into it. And I set myself some real high goals, like I'm going to practice guitar, I'm going to practice vocals, I'm going to practice everything. I'm going to read up for the things I'm going to have at school and for the things I'm going to have at school next year. I'm going to work out, and like starting out with everything at once, that never pans out. You always have to implement small things. So then when I couldn't like do everything, I was like, okay, I felt bad, and like, okay, well, can I be productive enough? And that triggered my anxiety and my depression for a bit, but luckily it never got worse before it started to really pummel down. But yeah, they definitely trigger into each other in ways. Those, but
Bite said Tourette's is triggered by stress and anxieties, like built-in stress. Yeah, that does sound frustrating, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned guitar and vocals. Is there any? Do you and that you make metalcore music? Are there other instruments that you play as well, or is it mainly guitar and singing?
I play the bass guitar also. Like I've had the bass guitar for a long time, but I've only picked it up when I was going to record, because I was like, why should I bother learning bass guitar? It's basically da 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 da. So yeah, I play that.
Don't let my friend hear you say that. He plays bass.
Yeah, but like that's the impression most guys have of it. But when I hear like someone playing something cool on bass, it's like, whoa, I want to learn that.
Yeah.
But I want to play guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I barely touched my bass guitar on the one I was going to record, and it always sounds sloppy, because it is, from what people think, it's a lot different to play bass from a guitar. But I've tried to learn to like play with the fingers, and that's kind of awkward when you're used to using like a guitar pick for guitar. Then it's kind of weird to use your fingers to play a bass. But I envy those that manage it, though. It sounds cool when you have like a cool bass line going.
Although then, of course, there are the ones where it's just like a straight line, same note.
Yeah, that's the thing about bass. You can, in a band and when they play music, you could get away with just doing that on the bass, because it's basically the rumble that you have like underneath to like fill out the music more. So people don't notice it unless they try to listen for it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, people that really enjoy music and really listens to the music, they notice when it's a cool bass line there. But usually normal people don't notice if it's like advanced bass playing or not, unless it's a solo. But yeah, I do like the vocals. There I do mostly like the growling and screaming, because I'm trying to learn clean vocals, but that's kind of hard.
It's different.
It is different. I feel like growling and screaming is a lot easier than normal singing, because you just have to find like what to do with your throat.
I don't know if it's easier. It's definitely different. It's two different skill sets, right?
Yeah, it is definitely. But it's like if you find a way to use your voice for screaming and growling, if you get the technique down, then you got it. Mm-hmm. But with singing, you gotta like expand your register and try to hit the notes, and you don't have that with screaming. It's mostly just it's no notes. Mm-hmm. Unless you do like some singers try to combine screaming and singing, but that can fuck up your voice if you do it wrong.
Right.
I don't do the drums. I do have a drum set, but I just program it in, because I have like a program where you put it in and so on. And the rest I usually program in, like piano and so on. I just divided into stuff, and yeah. So don't play any other instruments for it. But I always wanted to learn the violin though.
2 of my kids took violin lessons, and I don't think they remember any of it. They've had violin, flute, piano, guitar, singing. Is between the 2 of them. Not like they didn't do all of these each, but that might be it. And I don't think any of them remember any of it. Not a bit.
But yeah, they at least got an interest for music, so maybe they'll pick up on it when they get older.
And I have a piano. They'll tinker on it a little bit, but like I don't think either of them can read music still. But is your music available anywhere for people to check out?
I only have like, let's see, I have it on SoundCloud, but it's only like 2 songs. It's a good while since I finished those. Let's see, a couple of years ago. But the quality is like, yeah. I'm also in all this trying to learn to write music. I'm trying to also learn to mix music, and that's a whole other thing, because when you practice a song and try to get all the riffs down and record everything, you're pretty tired of working on that song. It's like, okay, I'll just try to slap on this thing with some minor settings, and okay, that sounds somewhat okay. I'll just put it out there. But yeah, I think my username SoundCloud, it's Sebbzzy, SEBB ZZY.
There we go.
Easy.
Yeah, so if y'all want to check Sebbzzy out on SoundCloud, and then if he ever puts anything else up there, you can be following him already. So there you go. We might have a different viewpoint given our natural range. Singing. So you're talking about Bite. To be fair, I was in band for 5 years, 6, and still can't sight read. I can sight read. It doesn't mean that I can make. Well, I definitely can't make the French horn do anything anymore. Like that was too long ago. It doesn't mean I can make the piano do what I want it to do first go round, but I can at least read it.
Oh, so you can read music.
Yeah. I was in band. I played the French horn in band, and then I also taught myself to play piano, which is why I have a piano. But how long was I in band? Like 6 years, and then I didn't do anything with it after. And then I had kids, and I played piano for a while, and then I had kids and just stopped.
I was still to learn to read music. I barely know any music theory. I'm completely self-taught on everything.
You don't have to know it to know what sounds good.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm trying to learn it now, because for people that haven't been into anything like that, it's kind of abstract. But now that I start to pick up on small things, it's like, okay, it's starting to make sense somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of weird that I started recording and making music way before I knew what actually was right and wrong. I just tried my way.
Yeah. So do you ever wish that your childhood had been different? Do you think it would have prevented some of what you faced as an adult? Or do you think that it supported kind of the adult that you became?
Yeah, in some way, I'm kind of happy that I, in ways, turned out as the person I am. I think having like a kind of negative childhood would make me empathize more with people that are going through a bad time. I was always like the kind of psychologist during my teenage years. Was always listening to other people's problems and always giving them advice, and I was kind of that guy. But I don't think I would have struggled with depression and anxiety if it wasn't for my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, from when I was 6 years old, he was always picking at me and making things, like trying to correct me on everything, and not in a constructive way. It's always like, stop doing that. And it was always like, yeah, I don't think he had a good mental health himself, so we kind of took it out on everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of made me, I remember from being like in the kindergarten, was always like the energetic kid, didn't worry about anything. It's kind of a top dog, everyone liked me. But soon, like I think when I was 7 years old, living 1 year with my stepdad, I was already being bullied. Because kids can tell when you have low self-confidence, and they like to exploit that. For me, it was like they knew I could get really mad. So they were like, pick at me, until I bursted and ran after them and beat the shit out of them. But I still kept doing it. But yeah, that was kind of a bullying. I got bullied a lot during my childhood until I like became a teenager. Then I started to like pull myself a bit together, and things got better from there. But I actually talked to my mom earlier today about my stepdad, and it surprises me how much I don't remember from that. She told me one time he was yelling at me in the hallway, and I was maybe 14 years old, and they knew I had anger issues, and she saw I like tightened my fist and was about to hit them, and she just had to pull him away because she knew that she couldn't stop it when I first started. And for a long time, I thought about if I lived with him for another year, I think I might even have ended up killing him, because when someone breaks you down, I would have just snapped, because when someone breaks you down over many years, and you deep down you know that that's the person responsible for you feeling like shit, for you hating yourself and so on. But luckily they moved away from each other a short time after that, and everything went up from there. But I still had like the anxiety and the self-loathing because of him always picking at me and always telling me that everything I did wrong. Never any positive reinforcement, always like negative comments and so on. But I still had that going, but life was so much better. It was like I felt my life started the summer my mom left him.
Right.
Yeah, it was. Still remember that summer. It's like fantastic.
Yeah, it's nice when you can finally feel like things are falling into place a little bit better. And it sounds like that's kind of what that was for you.
Yeah, it was definitely. I felt everything was so much better. I think that's the most happy I've been in my whole life.
Yeah.
Finally have some freedom, and no more negativity at home. But what happened always stuck with me, and as I've noticed with a lot of other people, that things that happen during your childhood, it usually doesn't come back to you until you get like in your 20s. When something else comes and drags you down, you really see that, okay, I had something from when I was younger, something that bothered me mentally and made my way of handling this situation much worse than it could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that's understandable.
No, it is. It definitely is. Like, there have been a lot of things. My life's in total turmoil lately, but that's a whole other stream. But it's like everything that happens, like sometimes it'll just trigger some memory that I haven't thought about probably since it happened. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. But yeah, like that, it didn't necessarily stick with me at the time, but now it's kind of coming back up. So I'm definitely kind of that way, like you were describing. But yeah, my daughter is one who holds everything with her for a long time, like after it happens. So she is kind of the opposite. But then there's my son, who I don't think remembers anything ever.
Yeah, that's kind of good, I guess.
I mean, I guess, yeah. So are there things that you really, really hate about your diagnoses? And then are there also things that you don't mind so much?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I hate about them. From ADHD is, of course, the inability to concentrate, and like sometimes my temper can be a bit off, especially in traffic. Of course, the thing about ability to be completely happy and with depression, so I'm always like trying to seek out the extremes to actually feel something, even though that's usually just excitement you feel, but at least it's something. Yeah, there's a lot to hate about it. And of course, there's some positives too. Like, I think with the Tourette syndrome, my kind of weird thought process is, or some weird things that I do in my head, but I think it's because of Tourette syndrome. Like, if I get the melody of a song, like I have it on my brain, I can suddenly like change out the lyrics with something that sounds really silly and can end up with being some really fucked up shit. Got a lot of people laughing because like I just start like singing on something with a completely different lyrics, but you can hear the melody, you can recognize it. I've done it with a lot of like childhood songs, like everyone have heard like in kindergarten and so on, and just put like weird ass lyrics to it. It have created a lot of fun moments with that, but
kind of the creativity aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's because of the Tourette syndrome. And because I think it was Albert Einstein. He had Tourette syndrome too.
Oh, I didn't know
They
that.
say that's, oh, he didn't. Yeah, he had it. And they said a lot of the way he thought, he was thinking, and the way he worked was a lot because of the Tourette syndrome. Because you get kind of an out of the box thinking in a way. I honestly don't know. I haven't read too much up about it, but from what I heard and from my brain working obviously different than a lot of other people's, both in positive and negative ways, I can imagine it's kind of the culprit for that. But other negative things, yeah, of course, the fatigue. I think that makes a lot of things worse. And
Understandably.
yeah, understandably, and especially since I'm kind of cursed genetically because both my mother, father, both my grandmothers had like arthritis, and I know I'm going to get arthritis. So I need to be in physical good shape and take care of my body, unless I'm going to definitely end up having it. Now, since it's been a long time since I've been like in real top-notch physical activity, I started to notice things like about the fingers. I get like one weird motion, and I can feel for, okay, ever since that motion, for example, if I feel like I pulled something in my finger, I can still feel it. And that happened a lot of months ago. Remember I had like, when I was small, I had the problems with my knees. But as soon as I started doing like strength training and doing like something that really puts a load on your joint, then all of a sudden it got better, like overnight. It was totally weird. So now it's kind of a race against time for me to get better, so I can get in better physical shape, so I don't end up getting too bad symptoms.
Yeah.
I don't have that diagnosis yet, but I bet my ass I'm going to get them.
Well, and you can still do whatever you think is going to help you prevent it from getting worse, even without a diagnosis. Like if that's, and it's not like you're going to do something harmful by improving that part of what you're kind of facing with your hands and everything. I have carpal tunnel syndrome, so I have been struggling a lot with my hands lately. And then this morning, like this whole side, which isn't carpal tunnel, that's so leading to this side of your hand is your ulnar nerve, which goes through your elbow and through a different channel over on this side.
Like tendonitis.
And yeah, and so it's that part's really hurt me. And I knew they did the little test where they poke you with all the needles and stuff to confirm carpal tunnel. And the doctor at the time was like, bad ulnar neuropathy in your left arm too. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even have any symptoms of it. Well, then this morning, all of a sudden they showed up and I'm like, I think I'm really glad that I had been doing all the exercises for the carpal tunnel syndrome because it delayed it for so long. But yeah, it's a problem now.
Yeah, all of a sudden it catches up to you, but the good thing is you can always delay the symptoms. It would have happened a lot
sooner if I hadn't been doing the exercises for the other stuff, though.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people like that struggle with, they had like diseases that would usually render people's body almost useless, but because they were already in good physical shape and continued to do so, it preventing them from getting worse symptoms. But like after a while it would catch up to you. But I think as long as you can delay it, you're going to have a better life during that time, even though it's going to get kind of compulsive with doing the exercise because you know you have to do it. At least you get better quality in life.
Right.
That way.
Yeah. So are there any strategies you found particularly helpful for handling the symptoms of your illnesses?
Yeah, as I said, for at least negative thoughts, the thing with using a rubber band or hairband, I felt that helped me like snap out of it because it's not always easy to like catch yourself having the negative thoughts. You usually just run on autopilot. And to actually kind of snap out of it and try to think about something else, something constructive or maybe something positive. But yeah, for ADHD, since I actually decided to get an education and so on, I found that the medication actually helps. But I did a lot of reading prior to that and even tried it from a friend that had ADHD and he had used it for a long time. I was like, can I try that? I was like, yeah, sure, try it. I was like, I need this shit.
Yeah.
So I thought that actually worked, but I know that it inhibits me somewhat socially. So if I go to school, like to a class, I know that, okay, I got two choices now. Either I can take my medication and only focus on schoolwork, but I'm gonna act like an autist, basically, because you get so concentrated that you aren't as relaxed as you usually are in a social setting.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't work socially, but you work for a thing you're supposed to do to concentrate. You have a choice between either do that or don't pay attention to anything and be social.
Right.
So I usually end up with taking my medication and paying attention because I'm there to learn.
Yeah. And you said you want to be a physicist, right?
Yeah.
So how did you, what kind of brought up your interest in that in particular?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I had for a long time had an interest in being an orthopedics engineer, if you know what that is. They make prosthetics and so on.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do that for a long time, and I got like a scholarship offer from a company in Norway because I said that might be something interesting to do because it's kind of a new profession. It was something else before, but then they turned it into a new profession, and very few people were educated to that. So they were kind of like headhunting people that could potentially be interested in it. And so I was like, okay, got like an extra scholarship, and they would like help me economically with reading books like and so on for school. I thought, yeah, okay, maybe I'll do that. But after a few years and working at that place at the summer, I felt like less and less motivated to do it because you can make a difference in people's life, but like giving them a good prosthetic, but you kind of just, it's like putting on a band-aid. You don't fix the underlying problems. And I, from the kind of work I want to do, I want to like really be able to fix the problem, not give you the second best option.
Right.
So then I was watching a TV show where the host was a physicist, and they were talking about really interesting stuff and like really checking the facts on things that people usually are not too sure about, things that are because today a lot of information you can find on the internet, you don't know if it's true or false. And that was kind of program that went into details about things, checks the facts, talked to experts and so on. And I saw he was a physicist and was like, okay, what does a physicist do? And I started to read up on it. And I realized they can do a lot. And that's what I really found interesting about it, because you could be so versatile. And of course, it's about physics. And that's that's a subject I had, that's a class I had on 1 year at like a free program for engineering, because I was about to be an engineer. We had physics. I really enjoyed having physics. I really understood it because they had like always a practical application for the math you were going to do.
Right.
Like, now you have this. Okay, what can I do with this? Yeah, you can calculate if you have a catapult and you're shooting an object. You can calculate how long it's going to go, what the trajectory is going to be, and the impact. I was like, damn, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I felt like, okay, I can try that, because you can almost work wherever when you're a physicist, and if you do a master's degree, you're pretty much secured a job anywhere. I really want to like invent something that kind of helps with either some of our problems in the world in one way or another. I just want to do something that really makes a difference for people in a good way. Of course, make sure people gets it for free, or not for free, but for like a price that is not totally communistic or unbundling way, but something that really can help people and do a difference in the world, basically.
That's absolutely. Bite Mark said physicists get physical. There you go. Little Anya, good to see you. I hope you have a good night. So these are weird times. And do you have any advice for any others who might be struggling with their own mental health in today's current pandemic / political climate / just crazy world we live in?
find something that you feel that you improve yourself with. Like, for example, playing an instrument or learning a new instrument. That feeling when you start to get the hang of it at the beginning, it's like, can kind of relate it to like when you fall in love with someone. It's like, oh yes, this feeling, I want to feel it more. And then you just continue to practice. All of a sudden, you're probably decent at it. You're suddenly decent at it. And yeah, I think that having a hobby or something that gives you some happiness, some sort of happiness, because I found out always when I feel bad, before I got the depression though, but if I was real bad, it was like, if I felt bad, I thought, okay, I'm going to do something that's going to help me when I feel better. So I've not wasted my time just feeling sorry for myself. I've actually done something productive. Of course, being physically active in some way, because having a healthy body, then you get a better mental health, and vice versa. It affects each other back and forth. But and try to stay positive, even though it's hard. Like, I know a lot of people kind of freaked out about this pandemic, because it's a lot of information that tells us that it's not too bad. Some say that it actually is bad. So try to stay positive, because somewhere it's going to end.
Yeah.
But it's weird times. It's just very weird times.
Yeah, I keep
Actually
having to
read
tell
the-
my kids that eventually this will be over. Like this isn't, it feels like new normal because we've been doing this for so long, but you know, they just started school. Today is their first day of school and they're at home doing it online. And so I keep having to tell them, like, this isn't how it's going to be all the time. We just have to get through this and it's okay. Let's talk about some things that you like about being able to be home. Like you can have snacks whenever you want, you know, like that's the whole thing. You can actually just get up and go to the bathroom whenever you need to instead of having to wait to be told you can go to the bathroom. Like there are little things that if you can just remind yourself, okay, if it's your day that sucks, if it's your week that sucks, if it's your month that sucks, like find something tiny that you can be like, actually, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, but
it's hard.
finding that small happiness, yeah, it can be hard at times. But like, I know for a lot of gamers, it's like when the total lockdown began, it was like, oh yeah, finally I can play games. For me, it was like, I don't want to play games now.
Yeah.
It was like, now that I can't go outside and do stuff, then I really wanted to do it. So that's kind of fucked up. But
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things where you're like, yes, I get to do this all the time, and then it kind of wears off. And that's a big bummer for me because I'm like, no, I used to love this.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. But I would say just try to stay healthy and try to do something that you feel improve or complete you in some way. Like you can also play video games, like we talked about earlier. You get the dopamine from it. You don't get like long-term positive effects from it, but you get temporarily. And you have to remember the pandemic is temporary.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But
especially if you've had just a complete shit day. At the end of the day, if you can sit down and we were talking about this earlier, but if you had a crap day and you feel like you didn't get anything done and you feel like none of your goals, like you didn't make progress towards anything, or maybe you made backwards progress away from something, if you can sit down in a video game and accomplish like one little thing, one little task, like sometimes that's just enough to get you through to the next day. And that's like what you need. So,
yeah,
you know,
it is like, yeah. But I really hope that pandemics is going to be over with. I've heard a lot about like Russia having a vaccine and so on, but I don't know.
I hope so. God, I hope so. I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I just hope that it doesn't have like mad side effects.
Yeah, no kidding. The dress code is way more lax. See, there you go, Bite. Bite said I was excited that I didn't have to go out and deal with people, but more and more I'm realizing that I valued my time alone at home, and now there's none of that. Yeah, because everyone's there, right? Like,
yeah.
What's alone time? There is no alone time.
Yeah, but how are things in the US now? Like with Corona and...
Awful. Well, and I live in Texas, and so Texas is one of the states that just hasn't taken us seriously. I think the last statistic I saw, it was like 40% of the U.S.'s cases come from a combination of Florida, Texas, and California, maybe. What was the other one? I don't remember. There's another state. It's like 3 states. And so we're being really careful because my daughter's stepmom is immunocompromised. So we have to be really careful to protect her and to protect her kids as well, because one of her kids is immunocompromised too. So we have to be really careful. So I'm taking it very, very seriously. But a lot of the people around us are not. Like my neighbors, they don't give a shit. Like they'll go anywhere, they'll do anything. Like it's awful to see people being so selfish and not taking it seriously. Like so here's I get up on my soapbox here for just a second, but here's my thing. If they come out with some sort of research showing that masks were ineffective and didn't matter after all, I'm still not going to feel bad about not wearing a mask. I mean, about wearing a mask. Like if I was not wearing a mask and they came out and with actual, research, which they have come out with research, but definitive, irrefutable research, whatever that may be for people here these days, saying that masks were actually really important, like I would feel like complete shit. I'm not going to feel bad for wearing a mask, but I could feel bad for not wearing one. And I just don't understand how people can be so selfish as to not do what they can to protect their loved ones. I don't get it. But yeah, it's not good
as
here.
far as I've understood. No, it sounds pretty awful. But yeah, as far as I've read about masks, you don't prevent yourself from getting it.
But you protect other people.
Yeah, you do. You protect other people. So it's a selfless act.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that Texas is finally starting to be less political about wearing a mask. Like for a while, it was a very political, if you're wearing a mask, you're a sheep and you don't want to be a sheep. And I'm like, I'll be a sheep. I don't care. Whatever. Like, label me a sheep. I really don't care. Like if it's for everyone's health, that's great. But it's starting to be less and less about that and more about just everyone's going to be pissed if you don't wear it.
Yeah, but it's understandable. That's why I got like a little annoyed when all the protests started, like with the Black Lives Matter. Now that, of course, it's an important subject. I've heard that it's pretty bad in the US. In Norway, it's not much racism. It is honestly not because
here. It's awful.
It is. I feel bad for those people though.
Well, and it's hard. Like you want to go out and be activist for that kind of thing, but then how do you social distance in a protest?
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's because then when they did that, they kind of there was a lot of people gathered, and I know usually they have restrictions for how many people that can be at one place at a time. From seeing those demonstrations, there was a lot of people and potentially a lot of new corona cases from that.
Yeah,
I think there's other ways to engage yourself in that kind of things. I honestly don't know a better solution to it, but from what I heard, a lot of bad things came out of that. Like a lot of stores get looted because some people like saw an opportunity and okay, well these people demonstrate, I can go loot a store.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of bad things came from it. But I was gonna say about like the corona cases in Norway, we had it pretty well under control because we had a lot of the companies and so on just shut down and everything on lockdown. Only things that were open, like the hospitals, very restricted. If you didn't have an appointment, you wouldn't get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be guards like checking you and everything. And then of course the food stores would be open, but they were very too quick to put up like a glass wall in front of like the cashier and put like hand sanitizers everywhere. They're everywhere now. But we had like a travel ban where people couldn't leave the country. But as soon as that opened, a lot of people decided to go everywhere in the world because everything was fine now. They went to like red flag countries, and all of a sudden now we have corona problems in Norway again.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of selfish people decided, okay, I want to go to Gdansk or something like that, and now you have corona. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, or to the US.
Yeah, it's a problem.
But you got hit hard. Isn't like US like after China on the top? Or maybe it's Italy that get worst.
I wouldn't be surprised if we had surpassed Italy. Honestly, I don't even know the numbers at this point, but I know that our second surge hasn't even started. So there's that. Like we kind of went up and then over and then really up. And then I don't even know that we started coming down yet overall. The US is huge, right?
Yeah, it is.
So it's hard to say, like, if you go state by state, but you can't put it as that state by state because it's still governed by the same people.
Yeah, it is. But it seems like all of those like epidemics, they start in like China and that part of Asia by Mongolia. I think they should really start to like put in some more ways to secure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Because I know the swine flu, it came from China. The bird flu, I think that one came from China too. The bubonic plague came from China, and they actually had new cases show up there recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we might have a new Black Death coming. But luckily that's easier to treat than Corona.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
an awful statement. Like, the Black Plague is easier to treat than coronavirus.
It's kind of, it's weird, but it's easier to keep under control at least.
Yeah.
Because Corona, I think because it's so infectious. And I think there was a video I looked at yesterday where they talked a little bit more about it, because the thing that made it dangerous, because it comes into your body and your immune responses, of course, try to take care of it. But the virus could affect T cells and I think it was cytokines, two of the components in the immune system. And that made the immune system go and wreak havoc on the lungs, especially.
Yeah.
And take away a lot of those protective layers that you have to protect you from bacteria and so on. But when the virus was worked out of your body, your lungs were already so compromised that a small bacterial infection could totally ruin your lungs.
Right. Yeah, and they're showing lasting effects after getting it. Like, months down the road, you're still having issues. So
yeah, I think that was particularly about that one, because at least for the lungs, you can get really bothered by it. I think I also read an article about a woman in Norway that had it, and she, I think she was one of the first cases in Norway to get it, but to this day, she still struggles with it, with shortness of breath. She just walks over to the mailbox and she's winded.
Yeah. Yep.
Because lungs are basically ruined.
Right.
Terrible.
Bites of the U.S. got hit hard because we as a nation didn't react appropriately. 100%. We had a team there for that reason, and Trump got rid of it. That's also true. We did. We had a team in China to figure out why are all these diseases coming from here. And anyway,
and they just got rid of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
We had a pandemic response team. He got rid of the entire pandemic response team. He got rid of the research teams. Just gone.
Some people just want to see the world burn.
Yeah, I think he's one of them. And I hope to God that this election cycle changes the fact that he even made it into the White House, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of excited to see about that. But have they made any changes or adjustments to like the elections? But because I can't imagine it going on like regularly. It would be like an at-home vote or something.
Right. So, I mean, you can do mail-in voting, but that's been politicized as well because there's lots of very false information posts out there about that increases voter fraud. That's been studied. It's not true. That there's lots of ways to manipulate elections, also been studied. That's not true. Like, we've had absentee voting, we've had mail-in voting for decades and not had a problem. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. And the reason that it's a problem is that Trump's afraid he's going to lose. And I'm like, yeah. So, yeah.
I always found him as a weird character.
Yeah, he is something else.
Yeah. Not to get all political, but he does a lot of stupid things. But I've heard that he was in some ways like skeptical and negative to like what you call the elite or something like that, if there even is such a thing. And I heard, for example, about that. What was that thing about that guy that had like that? They call it Rape Island or something.
Oh,
Epstein.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Epstein. I think it was like in a post way before that. Trump wrote a comment about he's a good guy, but he likes his girls a bit young.
Yes. Yep.
So it seems like
he's got some very, very sketchy. Well, and I mean, if we do want to get political here, like, Trump also likes his girls very young, and that's been talked about many times. So but everyone knew that before he got elected. Like it still boggles my mind that he got elected in the first place with his entire background and everything that everyone knows about him. I'm just like, really? The GOP, who is theoretically made up of Bible thumping Christians, and I am a Christian, but like, you elected someone who is very clearly not aligned with your beliefs, and you're trying to make it about your beliefs. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how you connect those two. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, he's something else.
Yeah,
Most
yes.
definitely.
I think the Americans just really wanted something totally different, something new. They
And
got
I'm not
something new.
saying we didn't need something different and something new. I'm not saying that eventually this couldn't be a good thing that we went through this. Like, maybe it's what we needed to see, like this radical change. Different is not always better. That's true. But I do think that we needed something different. I think that you're right in that. I think that we went
Because it was
the wrong
Obama
way.
right before.
Huh?
It was like Obama you had before Trump, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yep.
heard it. Like, on the outside, he looks like he did everything in a good way because that's how it's been portrayed. But I don't know what kind of bad things. Was it,
I mean, honestly, like, a lot of people didn't like some of Obama's policies because they considered them to be more on the socialist side of things, which is, if you look at what you consider socialism in most of the rest of the world, it's like so mildly on that spectrum that it's hard to say that. But I think that he did his best to improve things, and I can't say the same for Trump. Like, I can say the same for Bush before that. I think he did the best that he could to improve things, and even Clinton before that. So we're talking 3 different presidents now that I can say I can understand, whether I agreed with their policies or not, that they tried to improve the country. I can't say that for Trump. Like, I can see how he has tried to improve things for himself and his friends, and I think that is on brand for him. So
yeah. So probably not going to get reelected.
I am scared that he'll get reelected, but I'm hoping not.
Yeah, I hope people see him for what he is and what he has done. I always like, when I try to get like an understanding, I'm not a political person. Like, I haven't gotten too much into politics, but I think it's interesting to see. But every time I try to find something about American politics, it's like riddled with conspiracy theories. And since I've never been to the US and don't know anyone that lives there, it's kind of hard to like tell what is real, what is not, what has actually happened. I was like, one thing I heard about the Obamacare or whatever that was, was like a long sections of new things that was going to put in. Someone said that he had also put in that they should start using the guillotine again for executions. Yeah. It was like, what?
I can think of one person that would be good for.
Yeah.
Not really. No.
Not the way Christian thing to say.
No, it's not.
A new French Revolution in America.
I heard something interesting about the French Revolution in particular. So the wage gap in the U.S. between the poorest and the richest, and even the median and the richest right now, is larger than the wage gap was right before the French Revolution. So that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, actually, I also heard a lot about from the U.S. that they kind of got rid of a lot of the middle class.
Yeah.
Because they started to like outsource with putting up factories in other countries and so on. And I think that's, from what I could tell or think, that might be one of the reasons why the U.S. economy isn't like thriving as much as it did before.
Yeah. Well, and it's just one of those, the rich definitely got richer and the poor definitely got poorer. And it just like that split just skyrocketed this way and kind of went on this way a little bit. And so it's like, since this did take off and this either leveled or went down, like, yeah, there's no more, there's really not very much middle class. It's like you're struggling or you're not. And that's hard.
Yeah, that's kind of my impression of it. Where are you on that part of the ladder? You seemed like you had a good job. And
I have a good job and I pay the bills. And that's about it. Like, the problem with that way of thinking is I have a good job. I have compared to a lot of people, a really good job. And I still just pay the bills. Like, I can't go on a really nice vacation with my kids. I don't make enough money. Like, and that's with a really good job. So,
but you get by. Like,
I get by.
You don't have to work.
I do.
Don't have to work like 3 jobs or something.
No. Fortunately, I don't have to work 3 jobs, but I know people who do. And let me tell you, the people that we're calling essential right now, they don't make a living wage. They have to work more than one job because those jobs don't pay enough. But I'm like, we're calling them essential. Shouldn't we consider it? So anyway.
Yeah, it seems like the most of the money is going to like the money movers like Wall Street and so on.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
It sounds horrible. But
yeah.
I think it's so bad that they don't have like a proper minimum wage in the US.
Yep.
Because having to work 3 jobs, I could not imagine how hard that would be.
Yeah,
First
our minimum
to work
wage.
at Burger King and
our minimum wage in Texas is $7.25 an hour. And a lot of the time, the people who work those jobs don't even get 40 hours a week. They get like 30 hours a week so that the companies don't have to pay for their benefits, which is another awful thing. So then they have to go get healthcare outside of their company. Like it's ridiculous. So if you're working $7 for $7.25 for 30 hours a week, that's another good point too. So Bymark brings up another good point. If you are working somewhere like a restaurant, if you get tips as part of your compensation, I think it went up. Isn't it $2.15 now? $2.15 an hour. And so it's just like impossible to live on that. So yeah, you have to work 3 jobs. It's bad.
Yeah, that's really bad. I feel very fortunate for like growing up in Norway, and that's always like I've had like the attitude that when I had a bad time and had it bad with myself, I was always like, what am I complaining about? I'm living in one of the best countries to live in the world. I have nothing to complain about at all. Like having that economical security, we even have like that kind of social welfare. If you don't have a job, you get, it will be equal to $1,000 a month, I think, paid out like after taxes. That's like the minimum you can get, and that you can easily get by with Norway.
Yeah.
I don't know how the welfare system is over there.
It's not great.
No, you have some social security, but
yeah, we have some welfare programs, but they're like to qualify for them, you have to basically already be destitute. And then even then, they still want you to prove that you're trying to work, even if you can't work. So it's bad. It's bad here.
Yeah. Like, the US is such a wonderful place for people that make a lot of money because you get so many possibilities there.
Absolutely. If you're below that, good luck getting out because you're just stuck. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah,
that all took quite a turn there, but
yeah, I did.
So I'm starting to call this the Disney moment. If I gave you a magic wand and said, here you can eliminate one common opinion or misconception or theory about mental illness or disabilities or talking about mental health, what would you do?
That's kind of a hard one. Pretty hard to answer because I only have like, from what I know in Norway and from how things are here, I know things are most likely much worse when it comes to mental health outside of here. I think the misconception that you can suddenly just decide to be healthy.
That's a big one.
Yeah, because a lot of doctors and therapists think from a lot of illnesses that you can just think yourself happy.
Yeah.
That's in some way you have like, you have it only as bad as you perceive it, but that only gets you a bit of the way. If you have something that physically inhibits you from having a good mental health, like as we talked about, it's changes in the brain chemistry.
Yep.
You can't just think your way out of that. You can like do positively reinforced thinking and try to snap yourself out of it, but it's things that you have to live with unless you, I don't know. I don't even know if you can get completely rid of depression even. I hope so. But the misconception that a lot of doctors and a lot of people in general thinks that you just think you're way healthy.
Right. Like this is a choice.
Yeah, like it's a choice. I know for some people, because there are a lot of people that usually say they have it bad, they complain about it. Usually the people that complain most about it are the people that doesn't struggle too much. From my experience, from people I've met at least, it's like if you use it to get attention, like in a way that you want a lot of sympathy and so on.
Yeah.
It's usually not that your mental health is the problem in that way. And maybe it's in the way of self-confidence, but not in the same way as if you're depressed, because I've never met anyone who is depressed, like really depressed that goes shouting it off the rooftops just to get attention.
Right. Yeah.
But I can understand for some it could be good with some sympathy and so on. But like when people write like Facebook statuses, but oh my God, my life's so bad, I just want to kill myself. They don't really mean it, because you will get something a little bit more in depth, like the reasons why.
Yeah. And people throw that out sometimes as like a very flip kind of comment. And it's like they're not sincere in saying that. They're just being dramatic. And I do wish that people would be a little less dramatic sometimes about those kinds of statements in particular, because it's, in some cases, it is a cry for help. And it's better if we can recognize it as a cry for help, because no one else is saying things like that just to be dramatic. But
yeah, that's kind of the problem with kind of recognizing when someone actually needs help and when someone doesn't. I know for some people that if they really needed help, it would take a lot to actually be able to put it out there in a way like that. And if you just get like scuffed away as a attention whore, that's going to hurt you a lot, because of other people that have like been crying wolf for so long. They've made everyone's opinion about it like, okay, it's just attention. I think that can be a big problem for those that actually struggle.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been a really good discussion. I'll just open it up to chat and say if there's anything else you want to ask Sebbzzy, that we've got just a few more minutes here and we can answer whatever you would like. And then I will just open it up while anybody is typing into chat and ask if there's anything you want to throw out there that maybe we didn't talk about, that we didn't touch on, or resources or sites or personal recommendations or anything at all. Just hand the floor over to you.
Like I've been totally babbling away. Of course, it's like late at night now, so I'm starting to feel that as well. But I think at least for me personally, I'd like to really get going and get those first steps, get momentum in your day. If you're really hit rock bottom, the most important thing is like trying to get some momentum, try to get going and try to like approach something that would be considered a normal day, like take care of yourself. I knew, at least for me, because I hadn't been taking care of myself in a long time. I had cut my hair. I looked basically like a bum, and I hadn't bought new clothes in forever. I had actually started wearing them out, and that's not something you see normally in Norway. So I decided to take the small steps, like, okay, I'm gonna go get a haircut. I'm gonna try to start actually eating a few meals a day, start to get in some physical activity, start walking, and start like just doing things, because as soon as you start, it's easier to get over to the next step. But starting is really hard.
Right.
Yeah, I remember lying in bed for like the first days after I really crashed. I was like, I almost didn't leave the bed at all. I wasn't able to. It was really frustrating. But after I just took the small steps, I started to doing something and started to do something that I knew I was doing myself good. I was taking care of myself. Like, it's not like it's going to physically improve my health to get a haircut, but it's going to make me feel better about myself. Like, when looking there, like, okay, today I look good. Not like when you haven't cut your hair or done anything in a long time, like, oh, what the fuck? Who is that person? Like,
right.
You have to try to, I don't know.
Just kind of do something.
Yeah, do something, and try to also, I struggle sometimes with finding the words in English. Like when I have the perfect sentence, like, what could I say? How could I say it in English? But like you have to reflect something positively, like taking care of yourself, trying to, not like striving to look good, but like not giving a fuck. Like if you dress up with just like chilling clothes all the time, you don't feel, you reflect that you get shit done, that you get about your day.
Right.
You want to really feel,
kind of want to put out there what you want to feel.
Yeah, you kind of like fake it till you make it
Yeah.
stuff. You have to do that. The same about trying to be happy. You have to like try to be happy, have fun moments, even though you can't like feel that they're fun at the moment. You can always look back at them later and like, that
Yeah.
was actually a good time. Too bad I couldn't enjoy it at the time, but it was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Bite said doing something is better than doing nothing. So maybe you can't take a shower, but brushing your teeth is still progress. Yeah. And then once you brush your teeth,
Yeah.
maybe you're like, you know what? Now maybe I do have the mental capacity to go take a shower. It's just those little things. Because if you do take one step towards it, then it's like one less step that you have to take, and you're already partially there. So
Yeah.
definitely.
When you're talking about that, about taking a shower, that was one thing my mother commented to me. Like, she was like, you have to get in the shower now. You haven't been in the shower for days. And she said like, the one way she really notices that something is wrong with me, that is when I neglect taking a shower. Because yeah, you're basically not taking care of yourself, not washing yourself. And but yeah, doing those things, like you said, like brush your teeth, take a shower, it really helps you also get like a reset
Mm-hmm.
of your day. If you start your day with a shower, it's like, okay, I'm a little more ready for the day.
Right.
It's like ingrained routines you have from before. And when you kind of start to get a little bit back into those routines, it goes a little bit more automatic. The more good you do to yourself and the more things you do that makes you feel like you've actually done something, the more I feel at least it helps my mental health. If I get something done that I've been dragging on forever and I finally do it, it's like, yeah, I feel good.
Yeah.
Because like postponing something, that's for me at least, it's like it always is in the back of my head when I have something I was supposed to do for a long time. It always nags me and eats away at me. But when I finally do it, it's like it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it might be hard to do it. But do you have any more questions?
Kind of lets that weight off your shoulder. Bite asks, what's your favorite poem?
Favorite poem? I actually don't think I've read that many poems. I probably got one, but like when I'm put on the spot, it's like hard to remember.
I know.
One. But
she has asked me this question before, and I'm like, and I've read. I like poetry. I like it quite a bit, but every time I'm just like, what? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to recall like those poems. But I think if it's going to be something, it's probably going to be something. Some of those older poems, like things that have been written thousands of years ago, because like those are the ones I usually come over since I'm quite interested in history and so on.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Give me just a second. We'll be back playing a game, probably 7 Days to Die, because I need to reinforce the contraption that we built before the next 7 days comes around. So give me just a second to disconnect with our guests, and I will be right back. Thank you again, Sebbzzy,
thanks
for being
having
here.
me.
Bite said thank you for being here as well.
Thank you
and
for
wonderful
tuning
chat.
in.
That was my conversation with Sebbzzy, recorded back in 2020. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. These aren't easy conversations to have, and they're definitely not easy to sit through sometimes, but they matter. One of the things that stuck with me from this interview is how Sebbzzy talked about momentum. The idea that you just have to start somewhere, anywhere, even if it's just getting a haircut or taking a shower. Because when you're dealing with depression, ADHD, anxiety, or a combination of mental health struggles, those things aren't small, they're huge. And treating them like they're huge instead of pretending they should be easy is actually key to getting through them. We live in a world that loves before and after photos, the transformation story, the I hit rock bottom and now I'm thriving narrative. But that's not real life for most people dealing with these conditions. Real life is more like what Sebbzzy described. Some days are better, some days are worse. You find things that help, you use those things, and then you survive. And sometimes surviving is the victory. I also can't stop thinking about what he said regarding being diagnosed so young and immediately put on medication. How that created this belief that something was fundamentally wrong with him. How his stepfather's constant criticism reinforced that feeling. A lot of us carry that weight. The belief that we're broken or damaged or too much or not enough. And unlearning that is harder than managing the actual symptoms sometimes. If you are listening to this and you relate to anything Sebbzzy talked about, I want you to hear this clearly. Your brain being wired differently does not make you less than. Needing medication does not make you weak. Having a hard time with things that seem easy for other people does not mean you're failing. You're just playing a different game with different rules, and it's okay to acknowledge that it's harder. The rubber band technique that Sebbzzy mentioned to break through negative thought patterns is something you can try today. It's not going to cure anything, but it might help you become more aware of when you're spiraling. And awareness is the first step to interrupting the pattern. Same with the momentum thing. Pick one small thing, not 5 things. Not a complete life overhaul. One thing that takes less than 5 minutes. Do that. See how it feels and build from there. And if you can't do anything today, that's okay too. Some days the win is just making it to tomorrow. There's no shame in that. Now here's where I ask you to do something for me. If this episode resonated with you, if you found it helpful, or if you think someone else might benefit from hearing it, share it. Send it to a friend. Post it on social media. Leave a review, leave a comment, wherever you're listening right now. Reviews and comments especially help people find the show. They feed that algorithm. And the more people who hear these conversations, the more people realize they're not alone in what they're going through. You can find Even Tacos Fall Apart through my socials. I'm MommaFoxFire on all major platforms. I release new episodes every week featuring real conversations about mental health, chronic illness, and everything else that makes life messy and complicated. Because here's the thing about tacos and life. Sometimes everything falls apart, no matter how carefully you try to hold it together. But that doesn't mean it wasn't worth making in the first place. Thanks for listening, take care of yourselves, and remember that making it through today counts as an achievement, even if it doesn't feel like one right now.